This is for like a philosophy class, and then I just chose to study yoga. I was like,
why'd you do that?
I was very just interested in yoga, and I just wanted to learn more about it and try it out, because you have to spend like a bunch of hours on the project, and this was just
okay.
Me.
Interesting. And that was a pretty good set of questions, though. So I'm pretty sure this will be quite an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I don't have the list in front of me. Do you have the list with you?
Yeah, I do. I'll just maybe like take notes during it. So
I just found it on my phone, so we're good. I have the list. So we'll just go sequentially. One, do you practice yoga?
Yeah, I've been going to yoga classes and following like yoga tutorials like online, like on YouTube, just at my house. But yeah.
Okay, so somewhat. All right. And do you do any breath work or just the postures?
In some of the classes you work on like yogic breathing, but not as much. It's more postures and poses, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And what's your experience been with yoga?
Pretty like beginner levels, I feel like. Yeah, maybe like level 1 and a little bit 2, but mostly pretty basic postures.
Sure. Okay. All right. And what do you want to achieve from this research project that you're working on?
I just want to learn more about like the history of yoga, and like especially how the body responds to yoga, and how different like, systems in the body react, and how yoga just changes how your body is like functioning, or like what it does to your body and your breathing.
Sure. Okay. Sounds good. Have you felt, as you've done some bit of yoga, have you felt any difference in your experience from before and now?
I feel like I do feel different, because I feel like when I'm doing yoga, I feel like less stressed, and I feel like my mind is clear, and I can just like focus on my body and my breathing. And I don't normally have the time to do that because I'm just busy running around doing things.
Yeah. What grade are you in?
I'm a senior.
You're a senior? My daughter's a junior. She's going to be a senior this fall. So yeah, it's a pretty busy year for sure.
Yeah, it was difficult. Yeah, all the SAT stuff.
Yeah. My daughter's like super busy right now. But anyway, all right. So yeah, so it can be a really busy year. So you felt some sort of de-stressing, which is good.
Yeah.
What else have you experienced?
I just felt like more like aware of like my presence, like at that time. Like I just my body was just like there in the moment, and I just felt like I wasn't really distracted. I was just like focusing on myself and my breathing. Just like being present was like a big thing for me, and like being aware of people around me, and just the calmness.
Sure. Yeah. That's good. That's very good. All right. So how does this experience lead you to the questions that you have for our conversation today?
I was just curious about like during like this whole thing, as I've been practicing yoga, I've just been wondering these questions. And I just wanted to learn about like the body. And sometimes like online, I was looking, there's like I don't know if I can trust what they're saying, or like these websites, I don't know. I just wanted to talk to like about yoga.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, no, that's always useful. There's a lot of regurgitation of information on the internet without any actual experience. It's hard to understand which one is genuine and which is not.
Yeah.
All right. So you wanted to begin with how yoga came to be. What's the history of yoga?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Mr. Ruiz gave me a book. This book.
What is the book?
Wait, can you see?
I can't see you.
Oh, you can.
Your video is turned off. Yeah, I can't see you.
Oh. Huh. I don't know how to change that.
In the bottom left, you'll see something that says video, start video.
Oh,
it has a camera with a slash on it. Just click that and it'll turn the camera on.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, I thought it was on. Yeah, it's this book.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
Not yet. I don't see anyone yet, but I'm sure you'll come in time. Oh, there you go. I see you. All right, good. World Release. I've seen that book. Yes, World Release is good. Yeah, this is a fun book. The thing with, this is good. Now, the thing with these books is that they may not be written by an Indian audience or Indian writer, so they may sort of represent it somewhat differently. So yoga, the word itself, so you know the experience that you have of feeling centered when you do yoga postures, that feeling of being centered is literally the meaning of yoga, which is yoga means, you know what a yoke is, right? When you yoke a wheel to an axle. So when you have, you know, in any car, there's a axle that runs across both the wheels, and the wheel is centered on that. Or on your bicycle, there's a little thing that runs across on which the wheel is running, a pin, right? So being centered on the pin for your bicycle wheel is literally the meaning of yoga. So yuj means to join, and yoke, the English word yoke, Y-O-K-E, comes from the same source, which is to join. And what is it joining? It's joining and centering. So in your bicycle, for example, if the wheel is off center, for example, if you have even if it's a well-rounded wheel, but if it's off center, it's going to have a wobbly ride, right? And when you have a wobbly ride, it doesn't matter how smooth the road is, your ride is going to be very stressful, right? Because there's a lot of vibration on it. Now, when you join the wheel to the axle at the center, what happens is you're able to ride smoothly, and ups and downs on the road are going to be more, you can handle them. So that's how the word yoga itself comes. The postural yoga that you've attended so far is one of 8 steps of yoga, and there's many types of yoga. But the ultimate objective of yoga is centering, but not just in the physical body, also in the breath, which you might have experienced, also in the mind, also in the inner self, which is behind the mind, and finally in the innermost of all selves, which might be the experience of God itself. All that centering is yoga. So that's important to know, because it's not just postural yoga. That's very important. The postural yoga in the yoga system is one of step 3 of 8. And first 2 steps are basic discipline, inner and outer discipline. The third step is postures, and by posture it really means you just got to sit straight. But in order to sit straight, asana literally means to sit on a seat, sit straight. And those are the postural yoga that we see here in the West right now. But they all lead to in the same direction, which is a sense of being centered that you experience is important, because when you want to meditate, and all these practices were done by people who meditated. Why were they meditating? Not just for world peace, but just to get to understand reality a lot more clearly, right? So for that, if you're, so I don't want to over explain it, because I can go into a tangent, but I'll explain the postural piece. Your body has to be still, because if your body is not still, then your breath is not going to be still. If your breath is not still, your mind is not going to be still. So what's happening is you're working on a very subtle object, which is your mind. And you're working on the mind with the mind, because you're applying thought to the mind. And because of this recursion, right, the mind is applying on itself, it could go crazy very soon. So you want to make sure all the other variables are sorted. Your body is still, and the only way to still the thoughts is to still your breath, is to stabilize your breath. And I know you had the question on the autonomous nervous system, and I'll talk about that. So your mind is usually racing, quick thoughts running after another, and you want to quieten down the mind, which is one of the definitions of yoga, which is yoga chitta vritti nirodha. And I'll let me see. If you go to Google, just write YOGAH. CHITTA, and as soon as you do that, it will pop up a whole 4-word phrase: Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. CHITTA.
Yoga.
Space CHITTA space BRITTI. And then as soon as you write that, Google will finish your sentence for you. And it says Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. You got it?
I think so. Oh, yoga.
And yoga is the removing the fluctuations or the wobbling of the mind. So that's one of the definitions of yoga, which is the mind, which is always running. So if you see what's happening in the modern world, right? You've got your phone, you've got low attention span, and all that low attention span comes because we're trained to have really quick thoughts that are running after another. Mm-hmm. How do you calm your mind? You can't calm your mind by chasing after your thoughts. You can't say, you can't have this thought, you can't have this thought, because the more you chase your thoughts, the faster they run. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to quieten your mind? You're going to have to speak to your mind through alternate means. Those alternate means are your subconscious. You can actually address your subconscious through the medium of your breath. Mm-hmm. Why? Because your breath already is the layer between you and your subconscious. If you have shallow thoughts, you have shallow breath. If you have complicated thoughts, you have very complicated breath. So you can actually speak to your subconscious through the medium of your breath. Mm-hmm. And how do you speak to your breath? By actually being able to address it through the physical body, mm-hmm. by sitting quietly in one place. So that's the system of yoga, which is you're trying to get external and internal discipline, which are called yama, niyama. You don't need to, this is not important for the postural yoga piece, but you do need that because if your outer world is in chaos and you don't have basic discipline, you're not going to be in a good place, because even if you find quiet or peace for 2 seconds, something crazy will happen. Mm-hmm. So first is discipline. Then you got to be able to sit in one place and comfortably for hours possibly. Then you got to regulate your breath. Then you got to regulate your thoughts and attention, more importantly, by first withdrawing it from the outside world. Mm-hmm. Then, and don't tell me if I'm going too fast, I can repeat this stuff. So anyway, there's a whole process. So you withdraw the attention from outside, mm-hmm. address it on a specific object, and then you don't pay attention to any objects. Everything blends into one. That's the final stage of yoga. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole Ashtanga system. Ashtanga is eight limbs, and I've just told you 8 things. Yama, niyama, which is discipline. Asana, which is postural practice. Pranayam, which is breath work. Pratyahara, which is withdrawing attention. Mm-hmm. Dharana, which is focused attention. Dhyana, which is diffuse attention, which is usually Zen meditation is dhyana. And the final stage, you get to samadhi, where all is one. So those are the 8 stages of yoga. Now, the postural yoga that we do is in line with that. So give me a sec, 1 sec. I'm back.
Okay.
I was getting too long. All right, so I think I've over-answered your question. So.
Oh yeah. Wait, I just have another question. Do you do those 8 stages in every type of yoga? Like each type of yoga, you go through all of those 8 stages, or is that?
No. So there are many definitions of yoga, and so the eight-limbed yoga that I've described to you mm-hmm. is one system called the Patanjali yoga system. Now, the postural yoga that we do. So now your question is, do you do that in every yoga session? Mm-hmm. The answer is no. The yoga sessions that we do at the yoga studio, mm-hmm. tend to only focus on step 3, which is the postural practice.
Oh, that makes sense.
Or step 4, which is the breath work. Some yoga studios do breath work, some don't. Mm-hmm. But usually most yoga studios, or at least the Western teachers, end up doing is pay attention to the breath or slow down the breath. And that's pretty much all the yoga sort of breath work that they teach. but trained teachers can actually teach you proper means of way of breathing as well.
Mm-hmm. Wait, would it be possible for you to like write down all the 8 stages, or is it online somewhere?
Yeah, it is. So it just okay. I'll tell you the magic word for Google. ASHTANGA. Okay. The problem is, of course, branding. Hold on. Don't do that, because as soon as you write Ashtanga, some branded thing will come. But let me give you Patanjali systems. Let me see okay.
There's one on Wikipedia.
Yeah. The problem with Ashtanga yoga, as soon as you say that, is it just goes into, there's a brand of Postural Yoga. But if you go to Wikipedia and write Ashtanga, which you probably did, then you will see all 8.
Okay.
It's ASHTANGA. Ashta means 8. Ashta is literally the same word as 8. Ashta. Anga means limb. So 8 limbs of yoga. If you go to the Wikipedia page, there you will see a wheel, and it begins from top right. Just go to yamas, Y-A-M-A-S, yama, niyama, right? And then are you seeing it? I can share my screen if you want to see it. I can talk to you. One second. Let me share my screen so I'll show you the way I see it. This is the Ashtanga yoga system, right? And it begins here with external discipline, internal discipline, asana. All the studio yoga that you would do is this asana. Then pranayama, which is breath control, is not the right word, but okay, breath extension. Pratyahara is withdrawing of senses. This is focus. This is absorption, and this is union. So these are the 8 steps. And in the studio, you're only doing the posture. So you're not doing most of the other stuff.
Studio?
Say that again?
You don't get like the full yoga in the studio. You just get like part of the 8.
Yeah. So, and the reason for that is, of course, that's what people go to the studio for. It's usually a sort of physical exercise regime rather than a spiritual regimen. Okay. But if you went to a traditional ashram, or if you went to a sort of a traditional guru or a teacher, then they will be able to introduce you to all 8. And not many people will want to go do all 8 because and this may not be relevant to your research, but the material world and the spiritual world are sort of are joined together through yoga. So you could focus on the material world and not worry about the spiritual world. But if you're interested in the spiritual world, then you go through the 8 limbs of yoga, because then you're able to see more clearly that which is before your eyes, but you don't see it.
Okay, that makes sense.
So when you go to the studio, they're really doing the postural series, because that's what most people are interested in. This is a sort of a workout regime.
Yeah, it's more of a workout.
Yeah.
And it seems to be like, one of my questions were like, has yoga transitioned to a practice used by higher socioeconomic classes? Because I've noticed that like the people who go to the yoga classes, because yoga classes tend to be pretty expensive, especially in like the Bay Area. But I don't know, I was noticing that like as I went to classes, it wasn't a very diverse group of people, I would say.
Yeah, when you're in the city, so you're in San Francisco, so you're going to get fairly non-diverse. But the thing is, the original yogis are really poor people, not poor, materially poor. They're spiritually rich. The original yogis are people who lived as sages, hermits in an ashram. So they're not catering, they're not looking at rich people and charging fees for it. That's the original system. But of course, like with every great thing, when it comes to this wonderful country, it becomes monetized. And once you put money into it, then people come in for the money. What do you do?
Yeah.
But I have to say, yoga studios are hard to run, are expensive to run. Yoga teacher training can run pretty expensive as well. So, teachers do have to charge for this sort of service. And then studios are hard to rent, expensive to rent. So you're going to have to make money somehow. So people do that. I mean, there are free yoga classes. I've been teaching a free yoga class for 10 years. So there are free yoga classes as well.
Yeah, there's a yoga class in the Mission in San Francisco, Yoga to the People. Have you heard of that one?
I've heard of them, yes.
Yeah, I went there one time for Vinyasa yoga. That was cool.
Yeah.
But it's kind of
So, it's become a rich people thing, but it does not. It's the most inexpensive exercise regime that you could get to, because I travel for work and I need exactly nothing but just my yoga mat. I can go anywhere on the planet. All the equipment I need is just one single yoga mat. And sometimes not even that, depending on where I'm going, I can get it.
yeah.
So it does not need to be for rich people, but that's how it is right now. It's for well-off people, at least.
Yeah. So it doesn't need to be for rich people, but that's just how it turns
No.
out. Studios are expensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, you don't need many resources. You could do it in any plain room. You could do it outdoors. You just need one teacher and need a mat, and the mats are not expensive. So really, it does not need to be something which is exclusively for well-off people.
Mm-hmm. Wait,
Because I mean, if you look at the screen I was sharing earlier, I'll share it again. I mean, original yogis, all the ashram yogis are not. Look at this. I mean, this guy, what is he wearing? He's not really wearing anything. Just one piece of cotton here, one piece of cotton here, and that's it. That's pretty much a standard by the book yogi that you're going to get. They're not affluent people. They're not interested in affluence because they're not interested in the material world. Their interests are elsewhere.
Yeah. Do you teach just the breathing and the postures, or do you do like the full yoga, Ashtanga?
I teach. I teach all. I teach different flavors of yoga. So I teach the postural yoga for the postural class. I teach breath work for people who are interested in breathing. I teach meditations for people who are interested in meditation. I teach the higher yogas of. There are other yogas as well that I teach as well, which is not to confuse you, but there are other types of yoga as well. So when you mean yoking, right, or joining together, there are more ways of joining together than simply through meditation. You could join together through devotion. So there are bhakti yoga. If you Google the phrase bhakti yoga, and that's really big. Yoga studios also have chanting practices as well. And they've included a little bit of Hindu practices into the practices here. So that's devotional yoga. If you know the Hare Krishnas, you're going to see them chanting on the street. They're doing devotional yoga. That's a different kind of yoga. Well, this is different from meditation. And the third is karma yoga, which doesn't get as much press, but anyone who's working is karma, K-A-R-M-A. But karma yoga means different from karma. What that is the yoga of work. And what that's saying is that you can center yourself with the higher spirit through work. And those are all yogas that I teach as well.
Wait, so devotional yoga does what?
So if you think about it, okay, let me give you an example. The meditational yoga system is the Ashtanga system. I described that to you, right? That's meditational, where you observe and you realize the truth of this world existence. That's one system. The devotional yoga system, in many cases, they don't even meditate at all. But their objective is to mesh the heart. So to join with the higher spirit through the heart. How are they doing that? Through devotional practices, which could be chanting, could be going to a temple, could be singing together with other people, singing praise. Many things that you might even be doing at a church could count as devotional yoga practices. Because what you're trying to do is melt your heart and remove the separation between you and the higher self.
Nice.
And by that, what I mean is you have a sense of who you are. You have a name. You have a physical body. You have a family. You have assets. You have all this information about who you are. But that information is preventing you from being fully centered in the higher self. Because the Hindus believe that what is divinity? Divinity is outside as well as inside. Right? It can't be that divinity is only outside or up in some heaven, a bearded dude. That's not the Hindu vision of divinity. It's simply everything is divine. And if everything is divine, it's equally inside you as myself. So the separation between me and the rest of the world is nominal. but I make it out to be a big deal by looking at this body as identifying with this body as myself, by identifying with the name as myself, by my assets and so on. So what the devotional system does is it says, look, this nominal difference between me and the divine is nonsense. I got to get rid of it. And I say, I will submit this physical sort of structure to the divine. So the devotional system works that way. And in all the yogas, the devotional system is always the last stage and the best kind of yoga because it's sweet. And your intensity of sort of travel toward your end goal is faster with devotional yoga.
Mm-hmm.
So in the West, sorry?
Oh, because the types of yoga that I was looking at are like just like the different classes that you can go to. I have like a list.
Yeah. There's Abhyasa, there's Ashtanga, there's these are branded. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. But I hope I don't want to confuse you about yoga because your question is physical posture yoga related, right? I don't want to give you all this other stuff.
It's good to know.
Okay. No, but that's devotional yoga. And the karma yoga is the yoga of work, which we don't need to get into right now. Let's talk about postural yoga. So postural yoga, there are different brands of postural yoga, but all they are is the recombinations of under the same underlying system, which is moving the body in a particular posture and holding it and coordinating your breath and your movement and how long you hold the posture, how you coordinate it with the breath, how quickly you move to the next posture, how frequently you rest. These are the differences between one system and another. Mm-hmm. So they'll have essentially the same underlying postures, but they're going to go through them differently. Yeah. So the vinyasa systems are rolling through the postures really quickly. Yeah. And Bikram is going to, in the Bikram system, you're holding a posture for a long time. Mm-hmm. Right? And so those are the sort of grand differences between the studio yogas that are available here. Mm-hmm. And each system is devised by some person who learned the yoga system and decided that for their audience, this is the right system. So if you go to power flow yoga, all sorts of names that have come up, they're all the same combination. If you go to one class, you kind of sort of know what the other class is going to do as well.
Like you know the pose names and everything.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I went to a restorative yoga class. I think restorative is like my favorite.
Yeah, they use bolsters, right? And
bolsters and blocks.
Yeah.
It's really
no, it's really good. It seems like you're doing nothing, but it's good work. It's very relaxing.
It's really relaxing, and it had like aroma.
Aromas as well, yeah. And then some people use gongs as well.
Yeah, or one of the instructors was like singing during it. And then another one used like a hot stone.
Sure. Oh wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. Maybe the next. Oh, can we talk about like the body and how the body responds to like stress and yoga and just like the physical body?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So what happens with what is stress? And the first thing you got to understand, what is stress? Stress is a response to strain, which is being pulled. When you pull something that's strained, and stress is a response to the body's response to that. So you feel stress. But why are we stressed? We are stressed because we're not where we want to be, right? So we're being pulled away from where we want to be. So that stress can also result in psychosomatic or can show up in psychosomatic manner as well, which is you might hold stress in your body. For example, you get a pain in the neck or your shoulders because your shoulders are strung tight, right? And so people have aches and pains through the body, but it's really psychosomatic. It's some kind of inner stress that they're now holding in their body, and that has now over months or years become a part of their physique. They might be slouching, they might be holding stress here on the lower back. These are all the places that people hold stress. So what you're doing with postural yoga is is an interesting thing. You're trying to restore the full range of motion. So what happens is we usually, we're designed for maybe the savannah, so we're designed for a different moving environment. But we find ourselves in this world where we're not moving as much, we're sitting down, we're slouching, we're holding a lot of stress. And stress, again, I don't want to get into a detour, but we're not designed for perpetual stress. We're designed for spiky stress. If a lion is chasing you in the savannah, you got to have stress in order to be able, you got to have enough capability to run away from the lion, right? So fight or flight reflex, which is one of your questions with the sympathetic nervous system. You can't always be in fight or flight mode, because what it does is, it does the following. When you're in fight or flight mode, the body responds by shifting the blood away from your internal organs, your digestive organs, your procreative organs, and sends them out to the limbs. Why? Because the lion's chasing you in the savannah, and you don't want to be thinking about food and digestion, because what are you going to do if you're dead, right? Or procreation, because again, if you're dead, you can't have kids. So what happens is your blood is going, heart is pumping, your blood is going in the wrong direction or in one direction. And because of the modern lifestyle that we have, instead of only having that heightened sense of panic at the time where once in 3 years a lion is chasing you in the savannah, you have it 24/7. What happens is the body begins to fray. You have high blood pressure, you have organ damage, you have physical postural pain, aches and pains, and so on. And those become your lifestyle issues. So people have sleep issues, people have digestive issues, people have heart issues, people have all manner of other, physical posture issues. All of those issues are a result of the stress that they're carrying in their body. Right? And perpetually, if you had it once in 3 years, it's all good. That's how the body is designed. But what happens is we retain this over long periods of time, and this in fact shows up in the body. So when you go into a studio, what are they doing? Yoga studio. What are they doing? They're asking you to, one, pay attention to the body, which you haven't paid attention to forever. To restore a fuller, more complete range of motion. When you hold a posture into a pretzel pose, your body is designed to be more flexible, but you haven't been doing that, so it restores that. The third thing is you're also relaxing and releasing the muscle tension that's been locked into that muscle. How? Because if you're holding your shoulder tight because you're stressed and you have no idea that you're holding it tight, you're going to hold some tension here. When you release it, not only do you release it from the physical body, you also release it a little bit from your mind. Why? Because the mind is responding to the physical body. So it's a recursive thing. So the mind responds to the physical body, the breath, and the thoughts. And so when you actually hold a posture and you tell that particular part of the body to relax into the posture, you're releasing any stress you might be holding in. That allows your mind to realize that it's all good. Right? And then it automatically de-stresses. Right? So now you've got, the other thing I should tell you is that, so if you look at, there are two types of autonomous responses, right? Fight or flight, or rest and digest, which you might also call tend and defend, right? And so what you want to be is you want to be in a good balance of both of them. You drive, I'm sure, right? So you don't always want to be pressing the accelerator. You don't always want to be pressing the brake. You want to be in a position where you can press the accelerator or the brake when you feel like.
So like between fight or flight and rest and digest, like somewhere in between.
Yes. So you want to be in an optimal state. So a lot of the yoga studios, if you've done yoga nidra or deep relaxation after the postures, some studios do it, I do it in my classes. What you're doing is you're trying to relax people on it into a state, right? But many people confuse that with actually sleeping. Some people doze off in that portion, right? In shavasana. So the objective is not to doze off, because then you're basically gone off to sleep, which is great if that's sleep you need. But what we're trying to do is get to a place where you have enough of the fight or flight response and enough of the rest and digest response, that you're optimal, you're feeling good. And the way to think about it is outbound and inbound. So, for example, if you look at how people have drugs, right, that are uppers or downers. There are uppers drugs which are always hyping you up, you're amped up. And then there's downers like alcohol, which are calming, relaxing, and so on. So coffee, for example, can actually hype you up, right? You can get a little more excited. So these classes of drugs are basically working one end of the autonomous system or the other, either amping you up or tuning you down. And so what you're trying to do is actually get the same response but with no drugs and in a natural way, and sort of getting to a restorative place in the center, which comes back to the whole point of yoga. You're now becoming centered in yourself instead of always running out. When you're outbound, which is the fight or flight response, which is your energy is outbound, then you lose your sense of being centered in the self. You're driven by external events. And if you're too inbound, then you're going to go off to sleep. Right? So you want to be somewhere in the middle. That's what's happening when you go to a postural class. You're restoring the range of movement. You are resetting any tension or stress that's carried in the body. You're also paying attention to your breath, which is a signal that you now have to breathe deeper and be more centered. The lower your breath, the more calmer you feel. And because you're holding a weird posture for long enough time, you don't have time to think about all the things that have been bothering you forever.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Your thoughts don't bother you. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
So interestingly, in the deeper yoga tradition, again, not just the postural one, the core secret of this the internal energy is that as soon when your grip on the mind releases is when you feel the most sort of your sense of well-being is the highest. If you're if you're extra wound up in your mind, then you don't have a sense of well-being. I have more detail. I don't want to bore you with it because it can derail your project.
Yeah, but I think it's really interesting. I'm glad I picked yoga as a topic. Because students can pick like anything they want. Like some people are like building stuff or like learning a dance, learning how to skateboard.
Yeah. It's a pretty wide set of selection. I mean,
you can pick
what is the subject? Anything. Oh, interesting.
It's just you have to spend like hours learning about something that you've like always wanted to learn about, or just like practice skill. So some people.
I got it. So, go on.
And then there needs to be like an academic component. So I was just gonna do like religion and like body, but some people are like studying how to make bread.
That's good too. It's a life skill. You're gonna need that in a couple of years.
Yeah, it just how like funny how different everyone is. And there's like some people doing like fashion or it can be anything.
Nice.
Okay, this is like wait, which question? Oh, how does the body like change over long periods of time practicing yoga? Like over time, does your body like actually change?
Yeah, no question about it.
Like
I'll give you a few examples. Yeah. Go ahead. Finish the question. I'll on to the favorite examples.
Wait, sorry, what?
Finish the question. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, no, just how does the body change over long periods of time practicing yoga?
Okay. So you can tell a yogi from a distance because they're going to be sitting up straight. They'll be walking tall. Their postures are going to be just better. And why is that important? You'll see people will look more confident because they're holding it. So if I sit like this, just look at me at that time. So I'm sitting like this while I'm talking to you. What are you thinking about me?
I don't know.
This guy's slouching. He's just having a bad day, right?
Exactly.
So the thing is, you're going to when you sit upright, you radiate confidence, which reflects back on you because other people think of you differently because they think you're confident, so you get a better response out of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. Two, you have more discipline, which means your overall lifestyle improves by a wide margin because it takes discipline to maintain this practice, right? You might see more glow on their faces on people who do yoga because, again, they have more discipline. They are centered in the self, so they're not holding as much stress in. They're not scowling. Right?
Yeah.
So they radiate a sort of well-being.
They're happy.
So you see that. Yeah, they happen. Yeah, so you see that. So I'm a long-term yogi. So when I do talks, I did a talk yesterday at the temple. So this was a bunch of chaplaincy students, and they came back at the end of it, and their response, and this is a common response to me, is we can tell that you have deep practice because in your presence we feel your peace and calmness, right? So that peace and calmness is very difficult to articulate in words, but it's an experience that other people can pick up even without words, especially without words. And so when someone's at peace with themselves, the world kind of floats around them. What that means is you're going to feel that problems don't touch you as much. And so people feel good around you because you're not carrying or radiating out a noisy, sort of sharp energy. You're radiating a very calm energy, which everyone wants a piece of that, right? So those are some, again, I don't want to oversell the project of yoga postures, but those are some of the things that you can expect.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Let's see. Well, one of my questions, which type of yoga is the best for stress? This is probably just an opinion question, but I mean, I guess, like,
when you're asking what brand of yoga, I haven't done the entire range, so it's hard for me to tell. I guess you have to see which one you like more. So the Ashtanga and the Vinyasa ones, the ones that are movement-oriented, tend to be good if you're the type whose thoughts are always racing. And the restorative or Bikram, where you're actually doing a posture for 30 seconds, 1 minute, are for people who are built that way. So horses for courses, I guess.
But all the different posture yogas help with stress. It just depends, like, what you favor. That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. Because I feel like someone in the audience might ask me, like, which one's the best for stress, and like the answer is like all of them. It just depends on.
But I should tell you that your teacher, the one who's the instructor for the class, makes a lot of difference. If you have it doesn't matter what type of yoga you go to, but if you have an instructor who's a perfectionist, then you're probably carrying a lot of stress trying to get the right posture. And if you're not forgiving enough with yourself initially, then you're going to be unhappy in the practice. So one is a type of teacher who holds you to high standards, but gives you the space to get there. The other is they'll bully you into doing it. And a lot of yoga injuries come from those type of teachers that are trying to bully you into a posture that they think is the right way of holding a posture.
Yeah. I like the teachers that kind of let you go at your own pace or like give you a minute to, because some of the postures were like pretty difficult, or it was like a lot of like core movement. Like downward dog is like a resting pose, but then sometimes it still hurts my arms. Does it hurt your arms at all or no?
No, not at all. Not at all.
But I like child's pose.
Child's pose is great. But some people can't do that either. Older people can't do that because they're not able to fold their knees enough. So their hips are off. So their head cannot reach the ground. A lot of people, if they come later in life, that's what they feel. Let me show you. 1 second. I'm trying to get you to my YouTube. I have, if you go to, I'll show you the link 1 second. So I recorded a sort of a safe set of yoga postures for people because, again, people needed, so let me just pull this out. So the great YouTubes. So if you go to the Yoga Asana Pranayama video, 1 second. There's two. This is the beginner practice. This is a 35-minute. I just got to do so people. I'm going to mute this. This is me, and so this set of practices is simple. You're not holding it for too long, and so there's that. And then the pranayama practices. I put a few out there as well. So.
Oh, perfect.
One second, and then I wanted to show you something else. And this is apropos of nothing because, one second. Let's see. Let's see what. You get to me. Yeah. Okay, so let's see here. I'm just wondering if those are here. Okay, okay, they're not here. Okay, something I may have removed them from the website, which is fine. All right. Then not so much. Okay, I was just going to show you the weird poses. So, but anyway, yeah, never mind that. All right. So, yeah, I mean, go to a safe teacher. If people ask you where can you de-stress, go to a teacher who is kind and safe. That's more important.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of your questions was why there are only women or majority of women in yoga classes. I don't know. Yoga is not really a male-female thing. Anyone can go. But and yogis, old yogis were, many old yogis were just men, right? So I don't know what the deal with having more women, and maybe this isn't. Men think that does not involve heavy muscle building. Those many yogis are well built. Maybe it's just that. Maybe men think that stretching is not for them because it's not. So men tend to have tighter bodies. They're holding a lot of stress in. So they're also maybe performing poorly in a yoga class. So might actually select themselves out of it because they don't feel so good in that.
Yeah. Or maybe it's like too slow for them, or I don't know. Like I was just wondering, every class has like maybe two guys, one guy, but like it's not, I was just wondering.
It's a meme. You can't it is a meme. But you can't really expect too many men in a yoga class.
Yeah.
That's not how traditionally it is. And in India it's not that way. It's just over here.
That's just like a West Coast sort of thing, or.
No, all over the U.S. that is the case. That more women do yoga. That's no question about it.
But not in, you said India?
In India, there's likely to be a more equal balance. Let me see if I can pull up a. Let's see if I can get one of those yogas. So I'll give you an example, a counter example to the studio yoga. Let me see if I can find you a thing without. Let's see. Let me see. Sure. So I'm trying to get you a yoga camp photo here. Okay, let's just see this one. So this is a guy who does free yoga classes in India. This is the guy. You're seeing him, right? His name is Baba Ramdev. He does postural yoga. He's usually clad exactly like this. But that's not what I'm here to show you. I wanted to show you this. Look at who's in the class, who's in the audience. You see a lot of men, right?
Yeah.
You see this. Men, women, about equal, right? So it's not that, and these are all free classes, by the way. There's no charge for these. So the point of this is that it's a Western construct that there are more women in yoga classes. In India, you see this. I mean, it's probably equal.
Yeah.
And these are free classes, again. So it's not just for rich people by any means. So all of this is, I think it's just a function of the country we're living in.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, it's fashionable, I guess, somewhat to be a yogi. It's quite the thing. So so I think it's just the affluent people just do it more. So, for example, I'll give you a few examples of things that have affinity with yoga culture. You might know most of them. You go to a Starbucks and you can buy a turmeric latte, right? Turmeric. So turmeric is actually an Indian spice, and you will get turmeric milk in India like any day. I mean, it's a pretty standard thing. So that's a yoga affinity. I'll do this, and you know exactly what I'm doing. I'll say the following word, and you know exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to say namaste.
Yeah.
Right. So those are all yoga affinity things. If I show you a Ganesha statue or a picture, you know who Ganesha is because you've probably seen an elephant-headed god deity, right?
Mm-hmm.
At a studio. So those are all yoga affinity sort of things that have become mainstream in the US right now. But you may not think of them as yoga related, but they are. Vegetarianism is very yoga related as well. In the disciplines I told you, one of them involves vegetarianism.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm vegetarian, for example.
Involve vegetarianism?
If you're going to meditate for long term, it's generally advised that you're vegetarian because that's the lifestyle that will allow you to have stability of thought.
Okay.
Plus, it's non-violence. I'm vegetarian because I was born into a vegetarian family, but it's also non-violence because you can't think everything is one and also say I want to eat this cow. Those are incompatible sort of thoughts.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Speaking about like Namaste, what is like the meaning of Namaste? Because I feel like at the end of every yoga class they say Namaste, but a lot of people in like I guess don't know like the full meaning of it, you know?
Yeah, and now it's a jokey meme, Namaste here. So, no, but what it actually means, Nama means to bow. Te is, if you knew that, tu or te is you. I bow to you, but I'm not merely bowing to you. And so the broader meaning of Namaste is that I bow to you and recognize that you and I are essentially one, right? Because if all creation is one, there's no difference. It's only nominal difference between me and anything else in this universe. So we are recognizing that in saying it. So most people don't understand that or have a sort of a jokey understanding of it. But what it really means is I bow to you, which is how you welcome someone or try them well. You go to even in church, you will be bowing, right? But you're bowing to the other person as recognizing the same divinity that's inside both yourself and me and pretty much everyone else. So that's what it actually means. But Namaste more colloquially is a casual greeting. You meet anyone in India, it's not a yoga studio thing. You meet anyone in India, you're going to say Namaste. You're going to do that as a habit. This is how you say hello.
Okay. Is it hello also, or is it goodbye too, or no? Or
it's aloha in this. It's Namaste is just hello. And then it's just even when you're saying bye to someone, you're going to do this. So you'll see a lot of heads will say, if someone's going from your home, they're sitting in their car, you would catch people doing this, which is they're saying, thank you for coming and see you later.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's Hawaiian. It's aloha.
Yeah.
Hello and goodbye.
Wait, what was the word that you said earlier? Is like asana? Is that right?
Asana, A-S-A-N. Okay, let me show you that. So the postural yoga, let me just show you that 1 second. This is the word. So postural yoga, this is postural yoga. And asana actually means posture. Literally, the seat that you're sitting on is an asana, like the thing that you're sitting on.
Oh, okay.
So when you go to a posture class, which is what people call a yoga class is really in the West, an asana class is how I would call it. And that comes from this one verse, not verse, but sort of sutra. But anyway, this phrase in the Yoga Sutras, which is sthira sukham asana, which is sthira means steady, sukha means comfortable, and asana is sit. Sit in a steady and comfortable posture. That's literally all that it says, and that's what asana means. Okay,
that makes sense. And then what was the pose at the end where you're like very relaxed? Shavasana? Is that what?
Shavasana. So Shava, S-H-A-V-A. Okay, let me Google that 3 1 3. So Shavasana. So what this is simply Shava means dead body. Quite literally, it means Shava means the dead body. So if you see a dead body on the street, you're going to say, "I found a Shava." S-H-A-V-A, Shava. Right? And this is just lying down like a dead body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, why are you doing that? When you do,
we've done that pose before, like at the end of a class, and I just like copy what other people are doing, but I wasn't sure what the exact position looks like, but that makes sense.
Yeah. So what? Okay, I can describe what's going on. You're lying down in a way that zero muscles of your body need to do any work. You understand? When you're sitting up, your back is upright. Everything else is relaxed. But when you're lying down in this posture, zero muscles are holding any tension.
Okay.
Why is that important? It's important because you're going to let go of your body, then you're bringing your attention to the breath, then you're going to let go of the breath once you've stabilized it, then you'll bring your mind to something, and then your mind will relax. And so now nothing, neither your body, nor your breath, nor your mind are holding any tension.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
So that's what you're trying to do with Shavasana.
Okay. Oh, and then also, like, when you, in some of my classes, they do, like, they say, like, like, is that just, like, a way of, like, breathing, or is there, like, a deeper meaning to that? Like,
Okay. How much time do you have? There are entire, yeah. No, I meant that. I'll give you the other one. So, Om is the holiest of the holy. So it's not just a word. In fact, so there are many descriptions of, in quotes, God in the Hindu tradition, and in many of the books, Om is God, basically. Why? Because God is sound. God is all that vibrates. All of this universe is vibrating in itself, right? And so that vibration, you recognize that as Om, right? So that's Om. Do you know what this phrase means? Alpha, the Alpha and the Omega.
I think I've heard it before.
You kind of sort of know it. It means the beginning and the end, right? And so anyway, that's a different alphabet set, but I'll tell you what it means in this set. Om actually, Om is the subtlest of the subtle. It's the basis of existence. It precedes everything. So everything, if you say there was a Big Bang, what did the Big Bang come out of? What is the Big Bang in? You would say the sound of the Big Bang is Om. The source of that vibration is Om. You would say that. Now that's one way of explaining it. The way you would understand this is when you chant Om, you're not just chanting Om from here. You can actually, so a good teacher will show you, you have to chant Om from the lower the camera. From your belly is the Ah sound, right? Below the navel is the Ah sound. From the middle of your chest is the Oo sound. And from right here is the sound. And then out is the silence. So there are 4 parts to the Om when you chant it. And so when you experience that, what you're doing is you're moving your energy through the body, centering it. And you're now listening into a deeper resonance, which is hard to explain, but there are energies that work inside your body. You should know that. Outside your body as well, the whole universe is energy, of course. And when you chant in this way, you're also tuning into a resonance, which you will hear, which you will also sense. You will feel it. So let me see if I can send you. You should try it on SoundCloud. I'm going to send you a recording of an Om meditation sitting. Okay, 1 second. So I do meditation sittings, and several of those I've actually taught with the Om sound. So if you go through it, don't do it when you're stressed out. Okay, let me just share the screen. I'll show you what this is. So you're going to go to SoundCloud and look for this word, 3D Living Deeply Foundation. And in there, you're going to find a lot of playlists, but you're just looking for this playlist, the meditations, right? And I'm going to find you the evening Om resolution meditation. So this one. This one uses the Om sound to reach deeper states of active relaxation. Now, what is active relaxation? When both the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems are optimally engaged. You're actively engaged and you're relaxed, right? And so what you're doing is you're using the Om sound in the manner I described, in the Ah, Oo, and sounds. You're using those sounds to get to that state where your mind is actively engaged and yet completely relaxed. I'm going to say that again. Your mind is going to be actively engaged. You're not drifting away into bliss.
Mm-hmm.
You are actively engaged. You have control over where your attention is going. And yet, simultaneously, you're going to be completely relaxed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's the state you want to be in. And so, if you go to SoundCloud now, you find the link, go to, these are all good, but just go to the first one, the evening Om distribution one. And try it. It's a 1-hour meditation. And gets you from the body to the breath to the mind.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do it in a place where you can chant. If you feel conscious about someone listening to you, overhearing you, and that's a concern to you, then you're going to be not fully involved in the practice. So do it in a place where you're quietly able to sit and do your own business for an hour.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I think I got all my questions answered. This was really helpful. Thank you for doing this and being available.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
I'll send you the Zoom link when it comes over. So if you want to review this, you have it.
Perfect. I've never used Zoom before.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good.
Okay.
Wonderful. All right. Good luck. I'm glad you're doing this project. I wish you all the best for this project, and good luck for your admissions. I'm sure they're coming around the corner. Good luck with those, and
Okay.
see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Sure thing. Bye-bye.